I'm so glad you found your way here tonight. Right now, while you rest, your brain is quietly tending to every emotional wound you've carried this week, processing hurt, softening regret, and gently filing away fear so that tomorrow, without you doing anything at all, you'll feel a little lighter. You'll discover how sleep becomes your most powerful emotional healer and understand why the night has always been the time for mending. Welcome to Sleepy Science. Wherever you are right now, perhaps lying in the dim quiet of your room, covers pulled close, the weight of the day still settling, and allow yourself to simply be here. We'll journey through 100 healing facts about sleep and emotional recovery from the moment your brain slips below wakefulness and begins its quiet repair, to the deep architecture of dreams, where grief is gently untangled, to the remarkable science of how a single night's rest can reshape the emotional memories you carry. This quiet journey through the healing science of sleep builds a sanctuary for tired minds everywhere. A soft like, subscribe, or gentle share creates a pathway for more weary souls to find their way here, and brings us closer to protecting this peaceful space. Your presence here matters deeply, one sleepy soul at a time. Let yourself settle completely now. Feel your shoulders drop, your jaw unclench, your breath deepen on its own. You don't need to hold on to any of this healing knowledge. Just notice that warm, drowsy calm beginning to wash through you, like your thoughts are slowly dimming at their edges, softening into the fog of approaching sleep, safe and undisturbed. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. You're resting where memories rest safely in gentle darkness. Let your mind merge with infinite peace. And now we begin. Sleep is not a passive state. For a long time, scientists believed sleep was simply the brain going quiet, a kind of nightly shutdown, like turning off a computer. We now know this picture is almost entirely wrong. During sleep, your brain enters one of its most active phases, not to process the world outside, but to process the world within. Emotional memories formed during the day are replayed, sorted, and biochemically altered. The science of emotional healing during sleep has become one of the most rapidly growing fields in neuroscience, and what researchers have uncovered in recent years suggests that the night does work for us, that no amount of willpower or conscious effort can replicate. Sleep is not absence. Sleep is medicine. Your brain cycles through distinct stages every 90 minutes or so throughout the night. These are broadly divided into non-rapid eye movement sleep, which includes light sleep and deep slow wave sleep, and rapid eye movement sleep, commonly called REM. Each of these stages serves a different function in emotional healing. Slow wave sleep tends to consolidate factual memories and restore the body. REM sleep, occurring in longer stretches as the night deepens, is where emotional memory processing happens most intensively. Missing either stage disrupts the repair. This is why a full night, not just a few hours, matters so profoundly for how you feel the next day. The amygdala is a small, almond-shaped structure deep in your brain, responsible for detecting emotional significance. When you experience something frightening, painful, or overwhelming, the amygdala activates strongly. It flags the experience as something that matters, something worth remembering. During wakefulness, the amygdala stays alert and reactive. But during REM sleep, something quietly extraordinary unfolds. Norepinephrine, the neurochemical most closely tied to stress and alarm, falls to its lowest point in the entire 24-hour cycle, lower than during any waking moment or any other sleep stage. This chemical quieting creates a unique environment in which emotional memories can be replayed without the full force of their original charge. Your brain is revisiting painful events in a profoundly calmer neurochemical bath. Matthew Walker, a neuroscientist at the University of California, Berkeley, has described this REM sleep process as overnight therapy. The idea is that sleep provides a second chance to process emotional memories, not simply to store them, but to strip away their raw emotional charge while preserving the informational content. You remember what happened. You simply feel it less intensely afterward. Studies comparing emotional memory recall after sleep versus an equal period of wakefulness consistently show this pattern. Those who slept rated emotional images as significantly less disturbing when shown them again. Wakefulness, by contrast, tends to preserve or even amplify emotional reactivity. This process has a name: sleep-dependent emotional memory processing. Researchers believe it evolved precisely because organisms needed a way to learn from dangerous or painful experiences without being permanently destabilized by them. Imagine if every frightening memory stayed as vivid and raw as the moment it was created. Daily life would become impossible. Sleep acts as the mechanism by which the emotional lessons of experience are kept. But the raw, physiological alarm is gradually turned down. The evolutionary value here is profound. The brain preserves what it learned while releasing the intensity of the original reaction, night by night. Over time, sleep softens what was once too sharp to touch. The hippocampus is another key player in emotional healing during sleep. This seahorse-shaped structure, nestled deep in the temporal lobe, is responsible for initially encoding episodic memories, your memories of specific events. During sleep, the hippocampus replays recent experiences and coordinates with the prefrontal cortex, the region associated with rational thought and emotional regulation, to integrate new memories into longer-term storage. When this process runs well, you wake with a clearer sense of the past. When it is disrupted by poor sleep, emotional memories can remain fragmented, intrusive, or disproportionately charged. Children sleep more than adults, and researchers believe this is partly because their emotional processing demands are higher. Young brains are encountering enormous amounts of new emotional information, social dynamics, fear, disappointment, excitement, attachment, and require extended sleep to consolidate it all. Interestingly, infants spend roughly 50% of their sleep in what appears to be a REM-like state. Some researchers propose this elevated REM-like activity may play a role in the early emotional and social development of the brain, helping to wire the circuits of empathy, self-regulation, and fear response during the most formative years of life. Grief and sleep have an ancient and intimate relationship. Across cultures and throughout recorded history, sleep has been recognized as a refuge after loss. Modern science offers some explanation for why. During acute grief, the brain produces elevated levels of cortisol, the primary stress hormone, which impairs sleep architecture, reduces REM duration, and disrupts the very processes that would otherwise begin softening the pain. This creates a gentle cycle that asks for patience. Grief disturbs sleep, and disturbed sleep slows emotional healing. Understanding this cycle is the first step toward being kind with yourself in the aftermath of loss. Healing takes time partly because the brain needs sleep to do its work. And grief. For a while, we keep asking for that time back. Emotional memory consolidation during sleep is not simply about reducing fear. It also involves strengthening positive emotional memories. Studies using neuroimaging have found that emotionally positive experiences are selectively preserved and even enhanced during sleep consolidation. The brain appears to use the sleeping hours to organize its emotional catalog, filing difficult experiences in ways that make them more manageable, while reinforcing memories associated with safety, connection, and joy. Sleep, in this sense, is not neutral. It tilts the emotional archive gently toward resilience, provided we allow it enough time and space to work. So yes, sleep is already healing you right now. Every minute you spend in the quiet, dark, your brain is doing something. No waking therapy, no conversation, no amount of conscious reflection can fully replicate. The biochemistry of sleep creates conditions that simply do not exist during wakefulness. And this process has been happening every night of your life, long before you had words for it. Tonight, you are not lying still and waiting. You are being quietly, carefully repaired. Cortisol, the stress hormone, follows a predictable daily rhythm. It peaks in the early morning, a biological alarm clock, and gradually declines through the day, reaching its lowest levels in the first hours of sleep. This nightly dip in cortisol is one of the physiological foundations of emotional recovery. When cortisol stays elevated, due to chronic stress, disrupted sleep schedules, or prolonged anxiety, the brain's ability to enter restorative sleep stages is compromised. The amygdala remains on high alert. Emotional processing becomes less efficient. The wounds stay rawer for longer. Supporting your sleep is, in a very real sense, supporting your emotional immune system. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain most involved in rational thought, perspective-taking, and emotional regulation, is exquisitely sensitive to sleep loss. Even a single night of insufficient sleep measurably reduces prefrontal activity the following day. This means that after poor sleep, you are more likely to react emotionally rather than respond thoughtfully, more likely to perceive neutral faces as threatening, more likely to feel overwhelmed by ordinary challenges. The difference between a day when everything feels manageable and a day when everything feels impossible is often simply a night of good sleep, or its absence. REM sleep increases in duration across the night, with the longest and richest REM periods occurring in the final hours before waking. This means that cutting sleep short by an alarm, by staying up late, by early morning obligations, disproportionately cuts into the most emotionally restorative phase. Someone sleeping 5 hours is not simply getting 5/8 of the benefit of 8 hours. They may be getting as little as half the REM sleep, which is the phase doing the deepest emotional work. This is why sleep researchers speak not just about duration but about completeness, allowing the full arc of the night to unfold. Trauma leaves distinctive marks on sleep architecture. People who have experienced significant trauma often show disrupted REM sleep, with intrusive emotional content, nightmares, and fragmented cycles that prevent the normal emotional processing from occurring. Rather than serving as overnight therapy, REM sleep, in the context of severe trauma, can temporarily reactivate the fear response rather than dampening it. This is one reason why trauma healing is a slower process than ordinary emotional recovery. The very mechanism designed to help is temporarily working through difficulty itself. Recent research into REM sleep disruption in post-traumatic stress has opened new avenues in understanding how the brain attempts, and sometimes struggles, to process the most painful experiences. Prazosin, a medication originally developed to treat high blood pressure, was discovered to reduce nightmares in people with post-traumatic stress, partly by quieting norepinephrine activity during sleep. This accidental finding deepened scientists' understanding of how important the low norepinephrine environment of REM sleep is to emotional processing. When that environment is disturbed, whether by medication, stress hormones, or the biochemical aftermath of trauma, the overnight therapy breaks down. The discovery highlighted that emotional healing during sleep is not just psychological, it is neurochemical, and as precise and delicate as any other biological process in the body. Slow-wave sleep, the deepest stage of non-REM sleep, plays its own role in emotional healing, particularly in relation to the body's stress response. During slow-wave sleep, the activity of the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the system responsible for regulating cortisol and stress responses, is significantly suppressed. Growth hormone is released in pulses. The immune system performs maintenance and repair. This deep, dreamless stage is when the body catches up on the physical toll that emotional stress takes. Tension in the muscles, elevated inflammatory markers, the fatigue of a long emotional day. All of this is being addressed in the quiet architecture of slow-wave sleep. Inflammation and emotion are more closely linked than was once understood. Chronic emotional stress promotes the release of pro-inflammatory cytokines, signaling molecules that, at high levels, are associated with depression, anxiety, and reduced cognitive function. Sleep, particularly slow-wave sleep, is one of the body's primary mechanisms for regulating inflammatory activity. Studies have found that even partial sleep deprivation over several nights measurably elevates inflammatory markers. Conversely, restoring healthy sleep duration and quality reduces these markers. Understanding this connection opens a quiet doorway towards sleep as one of the most available tools for resetting the inflammatory tide. The emotional heaviness that comes with prolonged stress is partly a biochemical state, and sleep is one of the most accessible ways to begin shifting it. Dreams are the most visible expression of the brain's overnight emotional work. For centuries, they were interpreted as messages from the divine, warnings from the unconscious, or simple noise from a resting brain. Modern neuroscience offers a more nuanced picture. Dreams, particularly those occurring during REM sleep, appear to function as a kind of quiet, emotional rehearsal space. The brain retrieves emotionally significant memories, combines them with older memories in novel ways, and begins the process of integrating difficult experiences into the broader narrative of a life. Dreams are not random. They are purposeful, if not always legible. The content of dreams shifts in response to waking emotional life. Studies tracking dream content over time found that people experiencing depression often report dreams with higher emotional negativity, more passive and helpless scenarios, and fewer social interactions. As depression lifts, whether through therapy, time, or other interventions, dream content tends to shift as well, becoming more varied, more active, and less uniformly negative. This bidirectional relationship suggests that dreams are not merely reflecting emotional state, but actively participating in its regulation. The dreaming brain is trying to work something out, and the quality of that effort matters. The glymphatic system, a network of channels surrounding blood vessels in the brain, was only formally described by researchers around 2013. It appears to function primarily during sleep, using cerebrospinal fluid to flush out metabolic waste products that accumulate during waking brain activity. Among the substances cleared is beta amyloid, a protein associated with Alzheimer's disease, a finding confirmed in human studies published as recently as early 2026. Researchers have also begun exploring whether the glymphatic system plays a role in clearing stress-related neurochemicals and inflammatory molecules, a line of inquiry that is still in its early stages, but whose direction is consistent with what we are learning about sleep and emotional recovery. The emerging picture suggests that sleep's restorative function may extend to the literal chemical clearing of the emotional brain. Oxytocin, sometimes called the bonding hormone, is released during social connection, touch, and feelings of safety. Some preliminary research suggests it may have a relationship with sleep quality, with certain studies finding associations with deeper slow-wave stages. Though this evidence remains early and the mechanisms are not yet fully understood, what does seem consistent is that the sense of emotional safety, which oxytocin is closely tied to, may create more favorable conditions for the brain to enter the vulnerable openness that restorative sleep requires. Feeling safe enough to truly rest is not merely a psychological experience. The chemistry of connection and the chemistry of healing sleep appear to share common ground. Emotion regulation, the ability to manage emotional responses in proportion to circumstances, depends heavily on sleep. Research published in recent years has found that well-rested individuals show greater flexibility in how they respond to emotionally challenging situations. They are more able to reappraise, to look at a difficult event from a different angle, and find a more helpful interpretation. Sleep-deprived individuals, by contrast, tend toward more rigid, reactive responses. They are more likely to catastrophize, to personalize, to feel stuck. The capacity for reappraisal, which is one of the foundations of psychological resilience, is quietly rebuilt during the sleeping hours. The concept of emotional memory reconsolidation offers one of the most fascinating insights into how sleep heals. When a memory is retrieved, brought back into conscious awareness, it briefly becomes unstable before being stored again. This window of instability is called reconsolidation. Some researchers believe that this process, which occurs during memory replay in sleep, is precisely when emotional associations can be updated. The memory is not erased, but its emotional weight can be subtly adjusted, particularly if the replaying occurs in the low norepinephrine environment of REM sleep. This is one reason why a difficult experience may feel meaningfully different after sleeping on it. The memory may be genuinely altered at a neurological level, not merely reinterpreted, but subtly rewired by the brain's own quiet chemistry. Animals share many of the same sleep-related emotional processing mechanisms as humans. Studies in rodents have shown that the hippocampus replays memories during sleep, a process called sharp wave ripple reactivation, and that this replay appears essential for integrating new experiences into long-term memory. When this replay is artificially disrupted, animals show impaired fear, extinction. They continue to respond with fear to stimuli that should, over time, have lost their threatening association. This parallel between animal and human sleep function suggests that the emotional healing role of sleep is ancient, deeply conserved across evolution, and fundamental to how emotional learning works across many kinds of minds. A pattern is already emerging from these first 25 facts. Sleep is not a passive pause between days. It is an active biochemical process, running precise protocols across distinct stages of the night, each stage contributing a different piece to the larger project of emotional repair. From the norepinephrine low point of REM that allows fear to be replayed without re-traumatizing, to the cortisol suppression of slow-wave sleep that rests the stress response, to the glymphatic clearing that removes the chemical residue of distress, your sleeping brain is a healing system of remarkable sophistication. And it has been there all along, working quietly while you rested. Let's pause here and notice your body. As you breathe out slowly, appreciate each tiny cell inside. Trillions of organisms working in silence. Heart beating, lungs breathing, brain thinking, all without your command. Notice the gentle sensations on your skin, in your muscles, along your spine. You are a complete ecosystem, diverse, self-balancing. Your brain is already working to heal tonight. You don't need to do anything to help it. You simply need to be here. Now, we continue. Sleep deprivation and depression are deeply intertwined. Approximately 75% of people experiencing clinical depression report significant sleep disturbances, including difficulty falling asleep, frequent waking, and reduced slow-wave sleep. For many years, disrupted sleep was seen simply as a symptom of depression. Increasingly, researchers view the relationship as bidirectional and potentially cyclical. Poor sleep degrades the emotional processing systems that buffer against depression. And depression, in turn, further disrupts the sleep that might help heal it. Addressing sleep is now recognized as a meaningful component of treating mood disorders, not only a consequence to manage, but a pathway that, when improved, can shift the emotional landscape gently. Antidepressants and sleep have a nuanced relationship. Several commonly prescribed antidepressants, including some selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, suppress REM sleep, sometimes significantly. This creates a clinical puzzle. If REM sleep is involved in emotional processing, and antidepressants reduce REM, how do they help with depression? Researchers propose several explanations. The benefits of antidepressant medication may come partly through mechanisms other than improving REM quality, including the direct regulation of serotonin and norepinephrine systems. Additionally, some evidence suggests that the REM suppression effect changes over time with continued use. The relationship between pharmacological mood treatment and sleep architecture remains an active area of investigation. Anxiety disorders are also strongly associated with disrupted sleep, particularly with alterations in REM sleep that may favor the consolidation of fear memories rather than their gradual softening. In states of heightened anxiety, the norepinephrine system remains more active than usual, even during REM, partially undermining the low norepinephrine environment that supports emotional recalibration. This is why anxious people often wake feeling that yesterday's worries are just as vivid and distressing as they were the night before. The emotional processing that should have softened them did not fully occur. The anxiety, in a sense, made the healing more difficult to reach. Cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, known by the abbreviation CBTI, is now recognized as a first-line treatment for chronic insomnia, with evidence supporting its effectiveness as strong as or stronger than sleep medication for many patients. Interestingly, CBTI not only improves sleep, but has been found to reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression in individuals who received it, even when those conditions were not directly addressed in the therapy. This finding reinforces the idea that improving sleep quality has downstream effects on emotional health that extend well beyond simple rest. Healing the sleep heals something broader. Napping has a meaningful, if smaller scale, version of the overnight emotional processing effect. Studies have found that a nap containing REM sleep, typically a nap of 90 minutes or more, can reduce emotional reactivity to negative stimuli and improve performance on emotional memory tasks. Short naps without REM provide recovery from physical fatigue but show less pronounced effects on emotional processing. This distinction between REM-containing and non-REM naps underscores again how specifically the emotional healing work of sleep is tied to this particular stage, and not simply to rest in general. The timing of sleep matters as well as the duration. The circadian rhythm, the approximately 24-hour biological clock governing sleep-wake cycles, coordinates the timing of cortisol release, body temperature, and the scheduling of sleep stages. Disruptions to the circadian rhythm, such as those caused by shift work, jet lag, or irregular sleep schedules have been associated with elevated emotional reactivity, impaired emotional memory processing, and increased risk of mood difficulties. The body appears to have a preferred window for sleep that aligns with darkness and declining temperature, and attempting emotional healing outside that window through fragmented or mistimed sleep tends to be significantly less efficient. Light is one of the most powerful regulators of the circadian rhythm. Blue spectrum light, emitted in abundance by screens and energy-efficient indoor lighting, signals to the brain that it is daytime, suppressing the release of melatonin and delaying sleep onset. Exposure to bright blue spectrum light in the hours before bed has been found to reduce sleep duration, decrease slow-wave sleep, and impair the completeness of REM cycles. For the emotional healing systems of the brain, this means that the nightly screens many people use to wind down are, gently speaking, working against the very recovery they seek. The environment before sleep shapes the quality of healing within it. Melatonin is often described simply as a sleep hormone, but its role is more precisely understood as a signal of darkness. A biochemical announcement that night has arrived, and that sleep preparation should begin. It does not cause sleep directly, but rather adjusts the timing of the circadian system so that the body's sleep architecture unfolds in the right sequence. Melatonin receptors are found throughout the brain, including in regions involved in mood regulation. Some research suggests that melatonin may have mild mood-supporting properties independent of its sleep timing role. Though the magnitude of these effects remains under investigation, the nightly rise of melatonin is, among other things, the brain's gentle invitation to begin its emotional housekeeping. Sleep and emotional memory are connected in ways that extend to how we perceive other people. Studies have found that sleep-deprived individuals are less accurate at reading facial emotions, more likely to interpret neutral expressions as threatening or hostile, and less able to accurately perceive subtle emotional cues in social interactions. This perceptual shift has real consequences for relationships and daily life. A person who is chronically sleep-deprived may genuinely see a world that is more threatening, less warm, and less receptive than the one experienced by a well-rested person. The emotional world is, in part, constructed by the brain, and the brain that builds it is changed by sleep. The relationship between sleep and self-compassion is one of the quieter findings in emotional neuroscience. Research suggests that individuals who sleep well tend to be more self-compassionate, more able to treat themselves with the same kindness they would offer a friend facing difficulty. Sleep deprivation, conversely, is associated with harsher self-judgment, greater rumination, and increased self-critical thinking. The reasons are not fully understood, but may relate to the fact that poor sleep impairs prefrontal function, reducing the capacity for the kind of perspective-taking and emotional flexibility that self-compassion requires. Resting well may be, among other things, a quiet act of kindness toward yourself. Emotional wounds carried across many years, old grief, chronic shame, unresolved relationship losses, appear to respond to the ongoing nightly work of sleep in ways that more recent pain does not. The emotional charge associated with very old memories is, in most people, significantly lower than the charge of recent events. Researchers believe this difference may reflect, in part, the gradual work of accumulated nights of sleep, though the full picture of how long-term emotional integration occurs across a lifetime remains an open and fascinating question. What does seem clear is that every night of adequate sleep has contributed, incrementally, to the softening of difficult experience. Sleep is patient in a way that nothing else quite is. The interaction between physical pain and sleep mirrors the interaction between emotional pain and sleep. Chronic physical pain disrupts sleep architecture, particularly slow-wave sleep. And sleep disruption, in turn, lowers pain thresholds, making the same physical sensations feel more intense. The same bidirectional dynamic appears to operate for emotional pain. Emotional distress disrupts sleep. Disrupted sleep increases emotional sensitivity, and the heightened sensitivity makes the original distress feel more overwhelming. Addressing either side of this cycle, whether through caring for the pain itself or gently improving sleep quality, tends to produce improvements in both directions. The body does not cleanly separate physical and emotional healing. They share the same architecture. Sleep and forgiveness have a relationship that is only beginning to be studied scientifically. A small but considered body of research suggests that well-rested individuals show greater capacity for forgiveness, both of others and of themselves, than sleep-deprived individuals. This may relate to the same prefrontal mediation discussed earlier. Forgiveness requires the capacity to reappraise an event, to take perspective, to separate the person from the act. These are all functions that depend on prefrontal cortex integrity, which is among the first things to soften with insufficient sleep. The old intuition that sleeping on a conflict helps resolve it may have a neurobiological foundation more solid than previously suspected. The emotional content of dreams appears to shift across the course of the night. Early night dreams, occurring during REM, sleep closer to the period of falling asleep, tend to be more closely tied to recent waking experiences and may contain more directly emotional content, including fragments of the day's interactions and feelings. Late-night dreams, occurring during the extended REM of the early morning hours, tend to be more associative and loosely connected to recent events, drawing instead on older memories combined in novel ways. This shift may reflect a progression in the type of emotional processing occurring, from direct replay and initial softening to a more creative integration of experience into the broader landscape of a life. Halfway through our journey to Fact 40, the evidence has built in a consistent direction. Sleep is not background to healing. It is the primary mechanism of it. Every structure involved in emotional regulation, the amygdala, the hippocampus, the prefrontal cortex, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, is reshaped and recalibrated during sleep in ways that cannot be replicated during wakefulness. The neurochemical environment of REM sleep is unique in all of human biology. The clearing and repair functions of slow-wave sleep are irreplaceable. And every night you sleep, all of this is happening inside you, quietly, without your awareness, without your effort. Your only contribution is to allow it. You're still here, still breathing, still listening, Take a slow breath. Notice how your body feels a little softer now. Your thoughts a little less sharp around the edges. We're wandering through the healing science of sleep together. You and I and everyone else drifting in the quiet dark tonight. There's nowhere to be. Nothing to fix. Just the gentle rhythm of the night doing its work. Let's continue. Emotional healing during sleep is affected by what happens in the hours before bed. Research into pre-sleep emotional processing has found that engaging with emotionally charged content, distressing news, difficult conversation, or emotionally intense media, close to bedtime, increases the likelihood of emotionally negative dream content and may reduce the efficiency of the emotional processing that follows. Conversely, ending the evening in a state of relative calm through quiet activity, gentle conversation, or simply allowing the nervous system to settle appears to create more favorable conditions for the overnight emotional work. The transition into sleep shapes what happens within it. Gratitude practices before sleep have attracted scientific interest in recent years. Studies examining the effects of writing down 3 to 5 things one is grateful for before bed have found associations with improved sleep quality, reduced time to fall asleep, and in some cases, more positive dream content. The proposed mechanism involves a partial shift away from the threat detection orientation of the amygdala toward a more open, receptive state. Whether or not gratitude practices directly enhance emotional healing during subsequent sleep remains to be established with certainty. But the direction of evidence is consistently gentle and supportive. Sleep's role in emotional healing extends into social healing, relational wounds, the pain of rejection, conflict, misunderstanding, or loss of connection are processed through the same neurological systems as other emotional injuries. Researchers found that sleep loss makes the brain significantly more sensitive to social rejection. The sting of being left out feels sharper and fades more slowly. Well-rested individuals showed meaningfully reduced sensitivity, suggesting a greater capacity to absorb social pain without being overwhelmed by it. The sting of rejection fades faster and more completely after a good night's sleep. The body stores emotional experience in more than just the brain. The autonomic nervous system, which governs heart rate, breathing, digestion, and the stress response, carries the physiological signature of emotional history in its patterns of activation. During sleep, particularly slow-wave sleep, the parasympathetic branch of the autonomic nervous system, associated with rest, restoration, and safety, becomes dominant. Heart rate variability, a measure of the nervous system's flexibility and resilience, increases during slow-wave sleep and is associated with better emotional regulation during waking hours. Sleep is, in a very literal sense, a practice session for the nervous system in the art of settling post-traumatic growth, the phenomenon in which some people report meaningful personal development following significant adversity appears to be associated with the quality of sleep in the aftermath of difficulty. Researchers studying individuals who had experienced serious illness, loss, or other major life challenges found that those who maintained or recovered healthy sleep patterns in the aftermath were more likely to report increased sense of personal strength, deepened relationships, and greater appreciation for life. Sleep does not merely help people return to where they were before. In some cases, by allowing thorough integration of difficult experience, it may support movement towards something new. The emotional brain appears to prioritize certain types of memories for preferential processing during sleep. Emotionally significant events, particularly those involving fear, loss, or social connection, are more likely to be replayed during sleep than emotionally neutral experiences of similar complexity. This prioritization suggests that the sleeping brain has a kind of quiet agenda to address what matters most. Neutral information is processed more briefly. Emotionally charged experiences receive extended attention, multiple replays across multiple nights, with each replay potentially further softening and integrating the content. The brain tends to the deepest wounds first. Emotional memories are not stored in single locations in the brain. They are distributed networks, constellations of neural activity spanning the hippocampus, amygdala, prefrontal cortex, sensory regions, and body state areas. When a memory is emotionally significant, more of the brain participates in encoding it, and more of the brain is involved in its overnight reprocessing. This distributed quality means that healing an emotional memory involves coordinated activity across many regions simultaneously, a task of considerable neural complexity that the sleeping brain, with its capacity for large-scale coordination, is uniquely equipped to perform. Sleep spindles, brief bursts of oscillatory neural activity occurring during lighter stages of non-REM sleep, have been associated with emotional memory consolidation. Researchers have found that the density of sleep spindles correlates with the degree of emotional memory processing that occurs overnight. Individuals with higher spindle density show greater reduction in emotional reactivity to previously distressing stimuli after sleep. Sleep spindles appear to act as a kind of bridge between the hippocampus and cortex during memory consolidation, facilitating the transfer of emotionally tagged memories into a form that is more integrated and less physiologically alarming. The sleeping brain hums with purposeful electrical activity, even during its quietest phases. The subjective experience of emotional healing during sleep is something most people have noticed without having a name for it. The phrase "sleeping on it," meaning delaying a decision or response until after sleep, captures an intuition that predates neuroscience by millennia. People across cultures and throughout history have recognized that the morning brings a different emotional relationship to whatever troubled the night before. Science now offers a partial explanation for this universal experience. The problem has not changed. The emotional response to it has been biochemically recalibrated by the work of sleep. What felt unbearable at midnight may feel merely difficult by morning. Halfway through our 100 facts, the answer to the title's question is already forming. Sleep heals emotional wounds, not through one mechanism, but through many, working in concert across the full arc of the night. The fear response is biochemically quieted during REM. The stress axis is suppressed during slow-wave sleep. The glymphatic system clears the chemical residue of distress. Memory is replayed, reconsolidated, and gently diffused. The prefrontal cortex is restored to its full capacity for regulation and reappraisal. All of this happens while you do nothing at all. The sleeping body is an extraordinarily wise and ancient healer, and it has been at work in you all your life. Let each breath guide you now. You have been sleeping and healing since the very first night of your life. Every single night. For all the years you have been alive, your brain has been doing this work. Long before you knew any of this, the healing was happening. Tonight is simply one more night in a long, patient conversation between your waking life and your sleeping brain. You don't need to hurry anything. The process is already underway, and we continue drifting. The relationship between sleep and emotional resilience, the capacity to recover from adversity, is one of the most consistent findings in sleep research. Study after study, across different populations and methodologies, finds that individuals who report consistently good sleep quality show greater resilience in the face of stressors. They recover more quickly, return to baseline emotional functioning more efficiently, and are less likely to develop prolonged emotional difficulties following adverse events. Resilience is not simply a personality trait. It is partly a physiological condition, and sleep is one of its most important foundations. The adolescent brain undergoes a period of significant emotional development, and this period coincides with notable changes in sleep need and sleep architecture. Adolescents generally require more sleep than adults, approximately 8 to 10 hours, and experience a biological shift in circadian timing that naturally pushes their preferred sleep window later into the night. When social and educational schedules require early waking, the result is chronic truncation of REM sleep during some of the most emotionally formative years of a life. Research has associated early school start times with elevated rates of anxiety and low mood in adolescents, a pattern consistent with impaired overnight emotional processing at a sensitive developmental window. Emotional regulation develops across childhood, in part through the accumulation of well-processed sleep. Children who sleep well tend to show greater emotional competence, better ability to identify and describe their own emotions, greater empathy for others, and more effective strategies for managing frustration and disappointment. Children who chronically sleep poorly show the opposite pattern, with elevated emotional reactivity and reduced social emotional flexibility. Because emotional regulation skills learned early become foundational to adult psychological health, the quality of childhood sleep may have consequences that extend far into the future, well beyond the nights on which the sleep itself occurred. In older adults, sleep architecture changes in characteristic ways. Slow-wave sleep decreases across the lifespan, with the most significant decline occurring between early adulthood and middle age. REM sleep proportion is somewhat more preserved, but still affected. The practical implication is that the emotional healing efficiency of sleep may shift with age, and that the sleep difficulties commonly reported by older adults may carry emotional consequences beyond simple fatigue. Some researchers suggest that gently supporting sleep quality in older age, through attention to sleep habits, circadian rhythm support, and management of sleep-disrupting conditions, is a meaningful way of tending to emotional well-being across the lifespan. Nightmares are among the most direct expressions of emotional healing processes that have become dysregulated. They are more common than many people realize, affecting roughly 5 to 8% of the general population on an ongoing basis, and far more during periods of elevated stress or following difficult events. Current understanding suggests that nightmares may represent incomplete emotional processing, the brain attempting to replay and soften a distressing memory, but being unable to complete the process before the dreamer awakens. Nightmare disorder is now treated through evidence-based approaches, including imagery rehearsal therapy, in which the dreamer consciously reimagines the nightmare during waking hours, offering the brain alternative emotional material to work with during subsequent sleep. The sleeping brain does not only process difficult emotions. Joy, ardor, love, and meaning are also subject to overnight consolidation. Research into the processing of positive emotional memories during sleep suggests that these too are selectively retained and strengthened, with vivid positive experiences tending to remain accessible and emotionally meaningful longer than vivid neutral ones. The brain's preference for emotionally significant memories, both tender and difficult, may serve the purpose of building a rich emotional library of what matters. The sleeping brain, in this view, is not merely healing wounds. It is weaving the emotional fabric of a life. Social dreaming, the tendency of dreams to be populated predominantly by other people, reflects the deep involvement of the sleeping brain in processing social and emotional experience. Across cultures and demographic groups, other people appear in dreams far more frequently than solo scenarios. The interactions are often emotionally charged, and the dream characters are predominantly people known to the dreamer. Researchers interpret this pattern as consistent with the idea that dreams function partly as social rehearsal, allowing the sleeping brain to process relational tensions, explore emotional responses, and maintain social awareness in a safe internal space. Lucid dreaming, the state in which the dreamer becomes aware they are dreaming while remaining asleep, occurs during REM sleep and has attracted research interest for its possible therapeutic applications. Some preliminary studies have explored whether deliberately cultivated lucid dreaming might allow individuals to engage more consciously with their own nightmare content, potentially supporting the emotional processing that normally occurs. The research is early and the results mixed, but the concept reflects a broader scientific curiosity about finding ways to work more gently with the processes of overnight emotional healing, not to override them, but to participate in them more fully. The concept of emotional memory interference offers insight into why new stressors can temporarily reactivate apparently healed old wounds. When a new emotionally significant experience enters the memory system, it can temporarily increase access to related older memories, ones that had been quieted by accumulated nights of sleep. This interference effect tends to be temporary, resolving as the new experience itself is processed over subsequent nights. But it helps explain the disorienting experience of an old grief resurfacing unexpectedly in the wake of new loss. The healing is not undone. It is simply visited again, gently, by new material in need of the same care. Mindfulness practices and sleep appear to share and reinforce a common neural substrate. The default mode network, a set of brain regions active during self-referential thought and the processing of emotionally significant memories, plays a role in both. Regular mindfulness practice has been found to alter default mode network activity in ways that reduce rumination and improve emotional regulation. These same changes appear to facilitate more settled emotional processing during subsequent sleep. The two practices seem to work together. Mindfulness, creating more ordered emotional material for sleep to process, and sleep, completing the integration that mindfulness begins. The experience of emotional healing as a gradual, incremental process, rather than a sudden shift, is consistent with what sleep research reveals about the timeline of emotional memory processing. A single night of REM sleep reduces emotional reactivity, but does not resolve it entirely. Multiple nights of healthy sleep, over days and weeks, produce progressively deeper integration. This is why grief does not resolve in one good night's rest, and why the gentlest prescription for healing is simply time, which is in large part a prescription for accumulated nights of sleep. Each night does a little more work. The process cannot be rushed, but it also, reliably, continues. Exercise has a well-established positive effect on sleep quality, and this may contribute to its well-known benefits for emotional health. Regular aerobic exercise increases slow-wave sleep duration, enhances the efficiency of REM sleep, and improves circadian rhythm stability. Given what we now understand about the emotional healing functions of these sleep stages, the emotional benefits of exercise may be mediated partly through its effects on sleep architecture. A walk in the afternoon does not only release endorphins in the moment, it may also, by deepening the sleep that follows, quietly extend the overnight emotional processing that continues long after the walk has ended. Temperature is a quietly powerful regulator of sleep quality. The body's core temperature naturally decreases as part of the sleep initiation process, and most sleep researchers suggest a bedroom somewhere in the range of 60 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit tends to support this process for most adults, though individual comfort varies, and the right temperature is ultimately the one that allows your own body to settle. Studies have found that thermal comfort during sleep affects the proportion of deep, slow-wave sleep, with overly warm environments tending to fragment the deeper stages. For emotional healing, this means that something as simple as allowing a cooler room can meaningfully support the restorative quality of sleep. Alcohol's effects on sleep deserve gentle attention here. Alcohol is commonly used as a sleep aid. It does reduce the time to fall asleep and promotes initial deeper sleep. However, as alcohol is metabolized across the night, typically completing this process in 3 to 4 hours, it produces a suppression of REM sleep in the second half of the night, disrupting the emotional processing phase most closely tied to overnight healing. People who drink regularly before bed may be reducing their REM sleep over time, and with it, the brain's capacity to process and soften the emotional experiences of their waking lives. The short-term settling comes at a longer-term cost. We now understand that the emotional healing potential of sleep is not equally distributed across all sleepers. Individual differences in genetics, early life experience, current stress, and physical health all affect how efficiently the emotional healing systems of sleep function. Some people appear to be more efficient emotional processors during sleep, showing greater overnight reductions in emotional reactivity and more thorough integration of difficult experiences. Others, particularly those carrying high cumulative stress, show less efficient processing. This does not mean healing is unavailable. It means the conditions matter, and that caring for the conditions of sleep is, in a quiet way, caring for the capacity to heal. Breathing patterns during sleep have significant effects on sleep quality and emotional outcomes. Sleep-disordered breathing, including conditions ranging from mild snoring to obstructive sleep apnea, disrupts sleep architecture. Fragment REM cycle, and is associated with elevated rates of anxiety and low mood. Sleep apnea, in which breathing repeatedly pauses during sleep, prevents the sustained sleep stage continuity required for efficient emotional memory processing. Treatment of sleep apnea has been found to improve mood and reduce anxiety symptoms in many individuals. The airway during sleep is, quietly, a pathway to healing. The emerging field of sleep chronotherapy, which explores how the timing of therapeutic interventions can be aligned with sleep science, reflects a growing understanding of sleep as an active partner in healing. Some researchers are exploring whether therapeutic conversations or behavioral interventions might be timed in relation to sleep cycles to gently enhance their effectiveness. While this work is still largely in its early stages, it represents a thoughtful shift in how the relationship between sleep and emotional healing is understood, from background support to active therapeutic partner. Storytelling, including the stories told by dreams, appears to be one of the brain's primary tools for integrating emotional experience. The narrative quality of dreams, in which fragmented emotional memories are woven into sequences that follow a kind of loose emotional logic, may reflect the hippocampus's role in constructing the autobiographical self, the ongoing story of who you are and what has happened to you. By incorporating emotionally significant events into dreamed narratives, the sleeping brain may be doing something analogous to what conscious storytelling does during waking life, placing difficult experience within a broader context that makes it more bearable and more meaningful. The experience of waking from a dream that has processed a painful memory can sometimes be accompanied by a sense of completion, a feeling that something has shifted, that something has been tended to. This subjective experience is difficult to study directly, but a small number of qualitative research studies have documented it, particularly in people recovering from grief or difficult transitions. Whatever its mechanism, this intuition of overnight healing is not illusion. The brain has been at work. The shift is real. The feeling of something being lighter in the morning is, more often than not, the accurate perception of a genuine change. The science of sleep and emotional healing has implications for how we might gently support people navigating difficult passages: job loss, bereavement, relationship endings, serious illness. Across these contexts, sleep disruption is nearly universal. And across these contexts, the quality of sleep, even when difficult to achieve, is one of the most consistent indicators of the pace and completeness of emotional recovery. Framing sleep not as a luxury to be attended to after the more pressing work of healing, but as the primary mechanism of healing itself, is a meaningful and compassionate shift. Compassion fatigue, the emotional depletion experienced by caregivers, healthcare workers, and others in emotionally demanding, helping roles, is closely linked to sleep quality. Research has found that caregivers who maintain healthy sleep are more capable of sustained compassion and less likely to experience the emotional numbing associated with prolonged giving. Sleep is not only healing wounds that have been received, it is also restoring the capacity to be present to the wounds of others. The well-rested heart is more open, more resilient, and more capable of extending care to others and to itself. The therapeutic relationship in psychotherapy, the quality of connection and trust between therapist and client, is a well-established factor in therapeutic outcomes. There is emerging evidence that sleep quality in the days surrounding therapy sessions may affect the efficiency with which insights gained in therapy are integrated into lasting change. This makes intuitive sense given what we know about sleep's role in memory consolidation. The shifts in perspective and emotional understanding that therapy can produce need the sleeping brain to fully integrate and solidify them. Therapy plants seeds. Sleep, in some sense, grows them. Post-sleep emotional states are not simply the absence of the previous night's distress. Sleep actively generates positive emotional tone through mechanisms including the restoration of dopaminergic reward sensitivity, the brain's capacity to experience pleasure and motivation, which is meaningfully impaired by sleep deprivation. After a full night of healthy sleep, the reward system is more responsive, the world more capable of offering small pleasures, the motivation for engagement more readily available. Healing from emotional wounds is not only about reducing pain, it is also about restoring the capacity for joy. Sleep is a mechanism of both. Across many of the world's contemplative traditions, meditation practices, prayer, ceremonial rest, the transition from wakefulness to sleep has been treated as a threshold deserving of care and intention. While the metaphysical framings differ widely, the underlying intuition is consistent. Something of value happens in sleep, something that belongs to a deeper order of the self. The science of emotional healing during sleep does not contradict this intuition. It elaborates it, gives it mechanism, and gently confirms what millions of people across millennia have sensed, that the night has a healing wisdom that belongs to no other time. The emotional healing role of sleep can now be described with considerable confidence. Sleep, particularly REM sleep, in a low norepinephrine neurochemical environment, processes and softens emotional memories, reducing their raw charge while preserving their informational content. Slow-wave sleep suppresses the stress axis and restores the prefrontal capacity for regulation. The glymphatic system clears inflammatory and stress-related molecular debris. Memory reconsolidation during sleep allows emotional associations to be gently updated, night after night, across a lifetime. These processes have been doing their quiet, precise, irreplaceable work. You have not simply been sleeping. You have been healing. You have always been healing. You might be feeling tired now. That's perfectly fine. Breathe slowly. Feel the cycles. Your breath, in and out. A small, faithful rhythm inside a larger rhythm. Your heart, beating its patient cadence since before you had words. Your brain, moving through its stages, returning again and again to the deep repair. You don't need to hold on to anything. Like planets in their orbits, unhurried, unresisting, simply existing. The healing you need is already built into the system. Let everything unfold in its perfect order. We're almost there now. Every morning you have ever woken from sleep, you were different. Imperceptibly, incrementally, but genuinely different. The emotional charge of something that once hurt was fractionally less. The memory was the same. The wound was a little more healed. You didn't notice it happening. You simply noticed, one day, that something hurt less than it used to. That is the quiet work of sleep across time. The brain does not forget pain. It learns to hold it differently. Sleep is the teacher, night after night. It shows the amygdala that the fire of an old experience does not have to burn forever at its original intensity. The memory remains. The flame is gently, gradually turned low. Children heal more quickly from emotional distress, partly because they sleep longer and spend more hours in REM. They allow the process more time. There is something gentle in that, not a demand, simply a reminder that healing and sleep are not separate things. They are the same thing, moving at the pace of the night. The first hours of sleep tend toward the body. The last hours tend toward the heart. The deep, slow stages restore the muscles, the immune system, the cellular machinery of life. The long REM passages in the early morning hours tend to the emotional life, softening yesterday's frustrations, processing last week's sadness, integrating losses that are weeks or months old. A full night holds both. Grief visits dreams. This is one of the most commonly reported experiences following loss. Vivid dreams of the person who is gone, sometimes comforting, sometimes disorienting. Researchers believe this reflects the brain's active processing of a profound emotional reorganization. The sleeping mind is incorporating the absence of someone who was present into its model of the world. That work is not failure or inability to let go. It is the labor of love, adjusting to a new shape. The word restoration comes from a Latin root, meaning to rebuild or repair. Sleep restores, not by returning you exactly to where you were, but by repairing the parts that were strained and leaving you slightly more whole than before. This happens every night. It has always been happening. Even on the nights you tossed and woke and thought you had not slept at all, something was likely still being tended to. Emotional pain and physical pain are processed by overlapping neural systems. The anterior cingulate cortex, involved in the subjective distress of both, is soothed by the same deep sleep that eases inflammation and physical aching. When you say your heart hurts, you are using the most accurate language available, and when sleep helps, it helps both at once, There is a gentleness to the way the brain handles the most difficult memories during sleep. It does not erase them. It does not pretend they did not happen. It approaches them again and again, in the quiet dark, each time slightly more calmly, until they can be held without the full weight of the original distress. That is patience. That is care. That is what happens, without your asking, every night. The capacity to hope, to imagine a future that is different from the present, is affected by sleep deprivation and restored by adequate rest. A sense of hopelessness is partly a reflection of an exhausted prefrontal cortex that struggles to project imagination forward. Sleep does not solve the circumstances that feel heavy, but it restores the part of the brain that can see past them. You carry your history in your nervous system. Every difficult experience you have ever had has left a physiological trace. Sleep has been attending to those traces your entire life, not erasing them, but softening their edges, integrating them, weaving them into the larger fabric of a life that includes both pain and the capacity to continue. That fabric is stronger than it looks. The science of sleep and emotional healing is still growing. New discoveries are made regularly, but the direction has been consistent for decades now. Sleep is central. Sleep is gentle in its power. And sleep is doing something for the emotional life that nothing else can replicate. Whatever future research adds will likely deepen this picture, not overturn it. Allowing yourself to sleep, truly, fully, without guilt or agenda, is not a passive act. It is a quiet choice to participate in your own healing. It asks nothing of you except permission. The work is done by systems older and wiser than conscious intention. You only need to lie down and let go. Dreams about flying, falling, being chased, being lost. The universal dream themes that appear across cultures may reflect the emotional content that most consistently asks for processing across the human experience. Fear of loss of control, the disorientation of not knowing the way. These fears are ancient and shared, and every night, in millions of minds across the world, sleep is quietly attending to them. The morning after a night of genuine rest has a particular quality. Things feel more possible. The hard conversation that seemed unbearable the night before seems merely difficult. The grief that felt crushing seems, for a moment, simply sad. And sadness, unlike crushing, can be carried. That shift in proportion is the work of the night, made visible. Sleep cannot heal everything. There are wounds that ask for more than the internal wisdom of the sleeping brain. There are losses too large for any number of nights to fully absorb. But even in the context of the deepest pain, sleep does what it can, which is always something. The partial easing matters. The fractional reduction in rawness matters. The night is not indifferent to what you carry. The body's wisdom about sleep is expressed in the way it naturally seeks more after illness, injury, and grief. Fatigue in the wake of difficulty is not weakness. It is the body's accurate reading of what is needed. When the emotional burden is high, more rest is called for. The system is working as it was designed to work. Your sleeping brain tonight will review this day. It will find what was emotionally significant. What moved you, troubled you, touched you, and it will begin its work. You will not direct this. You will not remember most of it. But when you wake tomorrow, the day you live today will be carried a little more lightly. There is something deeply reassuring in the knowledge that healing does not require heroic effort. It requires sleep. It requires lying down in the dark and allowing the brain to do what it was designed to do. The most sophisticated emotional repair system in the known universe is inside your skull, and it activates the moment you close your eyes. Across a lifetime of sleeping, across the thousands of nights that constitute a human life, the accumulated work of this process is beyond measure. Every experience you have ever had that once hurt more than it hurts now has been worked on, night after night, by the quiet patience of sleep. You are the evidence of its care. And perhaps the deepest truth about sleep and emotional healing is this: you were never supposed to carry the full weight of your experience into every new day. The night was always there to receive some of it. That is what it was designed for. That is what it has always been doing. Tonight, as every night, the healing continues. And so, our quiet journey through the healing science of sleep comes to a gentle close. We've traveled from the moment the brain slips below wakefulness and norepinephrine falls to its lowest point in the entire day, creating that unique neurochemical sanctuary where fear can be revisited without rewounding, all the way to the long REM passages of early morning, where grief is slowly woven into the broader narrative of a life that includes both pain and the capacity to continue. We discovered that the amygdala quiets, that the prefrontal cortex is rebuilt, that the glymphatic system clears what stress leaves behind. We learned that every difficult experience you have ever had has been worked on night after night, incrementally, patiently, by systems older and more sophisticated than conscious intention. This was not a journey through distant science. It was a journey through what is happening inside you, right now, tonight. Sleep reminds us that healing does not require our constant management. Much of the most valuable repair happens in silence, in the dark, in the hours we have surrendered to rest. The brain does not need instruction or encouragement. It simply needs permission. By pausing to receive the knowledge that you are being healed right now, we glimpse something extraordinary in the most ordinary act of every human life. You have been healing all along. You simply had to close your eyes. In these final minutes, take the deepest breath you can, as deep as possible. Think about unity of every mind, healing in the dark, across this night, of everyone who ever grieved, and then, slowly, slept their way back toward morning, of the countless dreams carrying emotional material toward integration, in the quiet of every time zone, every night of every year. Think about consciousness itself, yours, mine, everyone listening, all of us somewhere in the long arc of our own healing, perhaps all of it connected in ways we don't yet understand. You are not alone in this. You never were. Let your entire being dissolve into the ocean of consciousness, into dreamless rest, into the space before thought. Prepare for deep sleep. No boundaries left. only peace. This gentle journey through the healing science of sleep was made for you, and for every tired mind still searching for rest tonight. A soft like or subscribe carries it quietly to one more soul who might need exactly this. One quiet tap, one peaceful night at a time. But there's no need to do anything now. Nothing at all. You've traveled far tonight, not across miles, but inward, through the biochemistry of compassion, through the architecture of a brain that tends to its own wounds. You touched the oldest, most faithful healing system you will ever know. And you found it already at work inside you. You can allow these thoughts of sleep and healing to fade now, like the last light of a dream dissolving into morning. Not gone, only becoming something softer, leaving only a quiet, unheld calm behind. Let your breathing deepen. Let your body feel heavier, as if a patient, invisible presence has found you here and is simply holding you in place, warm and still. If sleep comes, let it carry you the way the night carries everything, gently, without effort, into a place where time and weight no longer matter. If your eyes are still open, the next video is waiting, ready to continue the journey. But if they're closed, stay there. Stay in the darkness that feels safe and warm. Tomorrow, your brain will still be healing. The slow, faithful work will still be continuing. But tonight belongs to stillness. Rest well, sleepy soul. And remember, every night, without your asking, you are being quietly, carefully made whole. Good night.